You got a Hollywood movie. You have a couple of movie theaters open in Colorado and Virginia, and I think one in Connecticut as well. How did they do?
Well, actually, they did pretty well considering, this time of the year in August is, go away time. It's the last couple of weeks before school. So people are getting ready to send their kids to school or teach them at home this year. So this time of the year is normally pretty slow. So I was actually encouraged by the number of people that came out this weekend to see Unhinged. We did very well with it considering, and also the weather was beautiful in the Northeast end in Colorado, where we have our lonely theater out there. In Connecticut, I spent the weekend at the theater just talking to people, asking that very question, what made you comfortable enough to come back? And, they said that they'd heard about our nationwide protocols issued by the National Association of Theater Owners, and they were assured, they felt some assurance that it would be safe to go to the movies. So in Connecticut, I had people coming from New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Westchester. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they were all, or at least the ones you were at, were masked up. Did they seem to be enjoying themselves? Were they able to do it even with the mask on?
They did. I mean, when you're sitting, you can take the mask off to eat your popcorn, drink your soda, et cetera. But with distancing in the theater, parties are sitting together, but then there's nobody around them within a radius of 6 feet. So I think everybody was very comfortable. And, I heard some comments on the way out that they just felt very safe and thanked us for providing the experience again.
Yeah, and everybody's going to be looking at this movie Unhinged as some kind of a benchmark. Yeah. When I look at the movie, and I watched the trailer last night, to be perfectly blunt, Joe, I'd never heard of it. Maybe not the right movie at the right time. This is not going to be some kind of a litmus test for Hollywood, is it?
Well, I think that, somebody had to go first, and I'm very thankful that an upstart studio, Solstice, who released Unhinged, was the first. I mean, it was very brave of them to do without having the #1 and #2 markets in the U.S. open. So without New York and L.A., it's very tough for a movie to release. We're going to see what happens. I think the big litmus test is going to be over Labor Day with Christopher Nolan's movie Tenet.
Yeah, that one, a much larger release, probably much more of a litmus test for how willing consumers are to go, Joe. What about the status of your other theaters? What are you hearing from state governments? I know in New Jersey, the restaurants have still been given no guidance about when you can actually dine in. Are you getting guidance from governors in states where you are not allowed to reopen?
Unfortunately, no. New York, New Jersey, Maryland, for my chain, remain strongholds in keeping theaters closed. I am the president of NATO of New York State. We've been working very hard with the governor's office, the budget director, Empire State Development, to try to get guidelines and to get theaters in New York and LA open. Basically, without New York and LA, I fear that the rest of the film releases after Tenet are going to fall off the calendar and get pushed either later into the year or next year, or on streaming, even worse.
Why can't they give you an answer, Joe? Has anybody said, here's what we're waiting for, here are the numbers? That's what's confusing to restaurant owners I talked to in New Jersey. They're not getting any guidance. They don't have any idea what the metrics are that are supposed to occur for them to be able to reopen it. Everyone says we're consulting with health experts. Well, of course you are, but have you been given any guidance about what we need to see to get back open? It's got to be incredibly frustrating.
No, not at all. We've provided New York State with guidelines, with protocols, et cetera. We've had an interesting dialogue back and forth early on in April, May, June. And then once Governor Cuomo announced that theaters would not be part of his phase 4 reopening, we've heard nothing. And we've been lobbying aggressively in New York to try to get some assistance from the governor. Also, we had a failed attempt at a lawsuit in New Jersey. The judge didn't want to rule against the governor in the time of pandemic to get theaters reopened. And Maryland, we're hopeful that, hopefully in Maryland and New York, we'll get some action this coming week.